Hello world, it's Josh Harris, Seeger Swole. If you remember from about 2 weeks ago, I was talking about energy balance, and I talked about it in a way, it was very black and white, and I didn't get into a lot of the gray areas and side topics, and I did that on purpose because I didn't want it to confuse. But now that we have that information, we're armed with that foundation, we can go back and explore some of those gray areas. And one of the areas I'm talking about specifically is metabolism. And anytime you start talking about metabolism, genetics is soon to follow in the conversation. A lot of the time you hear, when you're talking about metabolism, you hear, oh, I have a slow or slower metabolism, therefore I gain weight easily, no matter how much I exercise, no matter, X, Y, Z. That's more or less the subject of the conversation that comes up when you start talking about metabolism. So you can see how that starts to get into a gray area when you start talking about metabolism and genetics. So I would like to break down some metabolic theories, which, obviously ties genetics into the conversation. According to Sizer and Whitney, metabolic theories, they seek to explain the variations with which, the ease with which an individual can gain or lose weight, all based on caloric intake, taking out the types of food out of the equation, the person's activity levels, their environment, all that out of the equation, solely focused on caloric intake in relation to metabolic theories. The first theory is the enzyme theory, in which fat storage may stem from an elevated enzyme called lipoprotein lipase, or LPL. Basically, the function of LPL is to enable fat cells to store more triglycerides. Consequently, the more LPL in a fat cell, the more it's able to obviously store fat. Also, by comparison, those who are obese have a larger amount, an elevated amount of LPL. And it follows that once a cell is altered, a fat cell is altered with that elevated LPL, even if you were to lose weight, a reduction in weight, lose the fat, the cell will forever be altered. So it follows that a lot of the times when people do have a weight reduction, they find it easier to put on the weight afterwards from once being overweight or obese. The next theory, very cut and dry, is the fat cell number theory. As the name implies, the more fat cells in one's body, the more likely they are to be overweight or obese. The next theory is the fetal programming theory. As the name implies, when a mother is in the prenatal period, if she is malnourished or obese / overweight, it could influence the fetus, the baby's metabolic process later on in life. According to Sizer and Whitney, studies do show that mothers who are underweight or obese, overweight, fall into one of those categories. Their children are more likely to then be obese or overweight themselves. The next three metabolic theories are based on thermogenesis. Thermogenesis is going to be the production of heat within the body controlled by bodily proteins. Thermogenesis 1, aka energy wasting protein or brown fat. Brown fat is a part of the adipose tissue in the body. It was once thought to only be in animals and infants, but since as of 2009, according to Sizer and Whitney, it has been found in adults. Overall, due to the special characteristics of brown fat, it can actually increase thermogenesis, which affects the metabolic process within the body. Thermogenesis 2, aka adaptive thermogenesis. It's a well-established fact that tissue, i.e. muscle tissue and others, they convert stored energy into heat in response to cold temperature, physical conditioning, starvation, and even stress. The theory says that genetic inheritance can basically influence that process for better or worse. And the last of the metabolic theories is thermogenesis 3, aka the diet-induced thermogenesis. This theory goes on to cite that the thermic effect of food in a lean individual is much higher than that in an obese individual. And because of those differences, over time, it could lead to weight gain. So cutting through all that information, the hit point. And remember, we're trying to address this overall conversation off of the statement that, I have a slower or slow metabolism due to genetics. Therefore, I gain weight very easily. I gain body fat very easily, regardless of what I eat or how active I am. Due to what that statement implies, we then looked at metabolic theories, which I said commonly brings genetics into the conversation. First off, you have to give credit where credit's due, and these are all metabolic theories, and being a theory, that means that it has scientifically met the burden of proof at some point on factual evidence that they actually exist, that it actually functions in one form or another. However, this is a very short and feeble list of metabolic theories, and you have to realize that there are literally hundreds of genes that go into the metabolic process and how your body works. So to just try to sum it up in 5 or so metabolic theories, might not do the job. Regardless of what you want to believe, if you want to believe in one of those metabolic theories or not, it is very, very clear. It doesn't, take a scientist to figure out that your metabolism and your genetics do play a role in how easy you will gain or lose weight. So then, if the metabolism and your genetics do play a role in your metabolic process, should you seek to stimulate your metabolism through, thermogenesis? To me, that's a very personal question, and I can't answer that for you. I can't tell you what to put in your body, what supplements to take, any of that. So you're gonna have to answer that question for yourself. I will say, however, that according to Sizer and Whitney, studies were done on lab rats where they increased the thermogenic response of the rats, and it actually didn't lead to any conclusive evidence pointing to the loss of body fat. And as a caveat to that, a lot of the thermogenic supplements that you find in the stores, I tend to find them being marketed or advertised as some miracle pill that, if you take it, that you're instantly going to shed like 10 pounds within 1 or 2 weeks. Those are lofty claims, and you really got to look into where those claims are coming from. How, what was the study done? How true are those statements? Is what it basically comes down to. So in the end, if you're going into a conversation, what I'm trying to say is, if it's a statement, along the lines are very similar to, I have a slower metabolism, therefore I gain weight very easily, no matter what I eat or no matter what I do, I would be personally, I'm just skeptical of that, because yes, there is truth to that. It is one part of the equation, but there's a whole nother part that leads me to, be skeptical. Be like, well, what are you eating? How, what type of activity are you doing? Or what types of food are you eating? Not just how much are you eating, but what types of food are you eating? So it's all very, very complicated. But the bottom line is there are metabolic theories. Your metabolism and your genetics do play a role, but it is not the sole, it does not carry the sole responsibility, and it should not be to blame of, you being overweight or obese or being lean. It can go in the opposite direction, being that, hard gainer. I hear that term a lot, no matter what I eat, no matter what I do, I just never put on weight. Anyway, I'm rambling now, and I got to get out of the gym. Been in here way too long once again. So I'm Josh Harris, Seeger Swole. If you liked the video, give it a like. If you learned something, give it a share. Let me know. Ask me questions. Like I said before, you know the spiel. If I don't know something, I'll find it out. I'll get back to you. What I don't know, I want to know. So it helps me. It helps you. Win-win situation. That's all the information I have for the video. So I'm out.
Are you okay?